everyone. Welcome back to our Golden 20s podcast. My name is Sadie and I'm joined by my co-host Tegan. And
Hey.
Today we are talking about body image. So trigger warning, if this is something you don't like to talk about, maybe skip this episode. However, should be pretty clear in the title what you're signing up for. And I think we just want to chat about this. Both Tegan and I have just been chatting about thoughts we've been having in like our own lives, and it was like, let's turn this into a podcast episode because this is something that I think everyone deals with, and it is a very isolating thing, and it's also top of mind during summertime when you're maybe wearing bathing suits or shorts and tank tops and trying to wear as minimal amount of clothing as possible, or you're feeling bloated from being sweaty and hot all day every day. So that's what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, well, and I also find that, at least for me, being located in Canada, I spend all winter eating whatever I want because I'm like, it sucks out there. Yeah. Like, I can eat ice cream every single day because the world stinks because it snows all the time. But then it's like, once summer rolls around, it's always like, ugh, here I am. I'm supposed to be like looking my best, living my best life, when I spent all winter prioritizing comfort.
Right.
Which isn't even a problem.
Yeah.
But for some reason, it feels that way once summer rolls around. Or it's always like you could have done more.
Yeah.
By the time a vacation comes, by the time summer comes, it's like, ugh.
Totally.
I'm not at, the place where I think I should be.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like you just sounded like so much like a Toronto girly in that, where it's like, I don't care about winter. I live for summer, guys. Yeah. So funny. And this summer is just not summering, but we're doing our best here. Yeah, but I totally hear you, Tag. And it's funny because I think this actually might be surprising to some people, but I feel like body image and how like self-critical I am about my appearance is actually something I talk about the most with my therapist out of anything we talk about. Like, this is something we continuously come back to, and like I can spend hours talking about and analyzing. And why I think that's so interesting and maybe surprising if you know me is because I feel like I'm a very confident person. I'm very much like a self-love, self-care, like I'm like preaching to love yourself, things like this. But it's actually really hard and takes a lot of effort, takes a lot of work. And I feel like why it's so important to talk about it, and why I was like, let's turn this into an episode, is because it's very isolating. And when I think about why I talk about it with my therapist, it's because I don't talk about it with anybody else, because I don't want people to be like, really, you struggle with that? Or like,
right.
I wouldn't expect that from you. Or like people to like downplay how I feel. Not that I think anyone would, but I just don't want, I don't know. It's just something that's very internal. These are thoughts that I have in my head when I look at myself, not when I'm like out with friends. You know what I mean? So it's just like such a personal thing. So where I'm kind of going with this is that's why we think it's important to talk about, and hopefully something resonates with you in this or makes you feel better knowing that you're not alone. But if you are also struggling with this is again my shameless plug for talking to a therapist, because I really think this is somebody who is there to just listen to you and to help you and to be a judgment-free zone, where if you have these thoughts that you can't talk about with anybody else, enter a therapist. Like, that is what they're paid to do.
I think the reason that this is so prevalent is because gaining weight is normal and a part of life, but it's not treated that way.
Yeah.
Like, we've talked about statistics in the past about, as a woman, you gain, I think it's like 2 pounds a year or something. And that's not including, if you're going through pregnancy or menopause, or if you're dealing with other health problems, or if you have stress and that kind of thing. Like, your body will change. And even if you're staying the same weight on the scale, your body will hold it different as you age. And yet, I guess through the media, mostly, it's very shameful.
Totally.
And like, the scene that keeps coming to mind is in the Sex and the City movie, where Samantha comes from LA and they're like, oh my God, what's with the gut? And it's Kim Cattrall, who's like absolutely gorgeous. I'm going to guess
I
like
don't
a
remember
size
this.
2. I've only watched the movie once because, well, for a lot of reasons, but the scene in particular. And it's just so tone deaf. I think, first off, I don't think that women would necessarily talk to each other like that. But it was, I don't know, a different time.
Yeah.
But I think, I don't know, it brings up these feelings of like the early 2000s. I remember being in the grocery store and seeing like the tabloids by the aisles that are like, look at all these people. This person pregnant? ?
Yeah.
Jessica Simpson's a fatty now.
Yeah.
And looking now through the lens of someone who's older, seeing that these people are skinnier than I am now.
Yeah.
Even in Bridget Jones's diary, it starts with her saying her weight, right? She's writing her diary. And I have not been that way in a very long time. And that's her starting and being like, that. This is why I'm single, because I'm so disgusting.
Yeah.
I think she says she weighs like 135 pounds or something. But it's just like, if you're fed that all the time and you're trained to think that gaining weight is a failure and it makes you unvaluable, which is just not true, especially when gaining weight is inevitable.
Totally. Yeah. And I think that's why it's so challenging, is because it's so deep rooted in our culture, in our society, in the content we consume. Like there is like this underlying like prejudice, I guess, or like bias because of media and whatnot. But I think it can also be deep rooted from how you were raised. Like maybe I'm reading the I'm Glad My Mom Died book right now with Jeanette McCurdy.
Yeah.
And like her mom was like in support of her
anorexia.
Yeah, in support of like counting calories, things like that. And maybe you come from a family where that's normalized, you know? So you don't know any different. Like you think this is normal. So that could be part of it. Maybe, you know, your friends are always like saying things like you need to kind of figure out where this is coming from. And again, I think talking through it with a therapist is great, because it is such a personal thing that it probably is deep rooted from something very personal that you maybe didn't realize. And it could be from childhood, could be from media, things like that. But I think something that I recently got to in my therapy journey from talking about this so much is realizing where mine comes from. And it's very much around a lifestyle change. So yes, I like, we come on this podcast, we talk about how you gain weight, especially as women, every year, even if you were to do the exact same things, whatever. Weight is not just tied to working out and eating healthy. Like you can do all the same things and still gain weight, whatever. I know this, but through talking about it, I've realized how where my insecurities come from is the fact that I'm actually insecure about how much effort I have to put in to be active in life.
Right. Yeah.
Now that I work from home all the time. Right. So pre-pandemic, like I'm very conscious that I do not get 10,000 steps a day. I do not get even half of that most days, because I work from home and I have to put in effort to do it. So it's like when I now look at myself in the mirror, I look for things to be like, well, girl, I see this. And it's like I'm proving the narrative to myself that I am not living an active lifestyle, because that's what I'm insecure about. Yeah. And then I just find the things to prove that to myself. So it's like, again, though, I got here because of talking about it, of my therapist like helping me through that. And it's like, so what we're addressing now is not the fact that I'm gaining weight. It's the fact that I feel like I'm not doing enough. Like you were saying, I'm not working out enough. I'm not eating healthy enough. I'm not doing whatever. So it's like, well, now that we've addressed the problem, we can work on it, you know? And I think it can be like, to be like, oh, well, it's the content I consume and things like that. But it's like, take time, because it might be a little bit more deep rooted and personal than that, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I was having a sort of similar realization about my views on my body when I was looking for an old picture of me trying on wedding dresses. And there were certain dresses that I didn't buy because I thought they were so unflattering. I thought that they made my belly look too big. Now, at the time that I was shopping, I was the sample sales size, which I think is like a US 4 or 6. So it's pretty small. It's not model small, but it's pretty small. And so I could fit into these dresses, but I was like, oh my God, I can't wear this because I'll look humongous. And now this was in 2019. So we're 4 years later? I'm looking at these pictures and I'm like, I am so skinny in these images that I look unwell as my perception now. And yet in the moment, I did not see that at all.
Yeah.
It's because you only know like what you're living.
Right.
And at that time, that was the largest I'd ever been. I was always really skinny. In high school, I remember like introducing size 00 in pants. I was like, yes, thank God. I finally can find pants that fit me.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have a butt yet because I was a little skinny kid. And so at the time, I was thinking like, I've got to hide my belly because this is not a good look. Now here I am 4 years older, have gone through a pandemic. I'm married, things change. And I'm like, if only she had known that that was the skinniest I would been since then. And probably if I listened to this episode 5 years from now, I'd be like, girl, you know nothing because that's the skinniest you've been.
Yeah.
That's the least wrinkle-free you've been. That's the least amount of gray hairs you've been. And so for everyone listening too, the same applies where like you're only going to get older. Hopefully.
It's only going to get worse, people.
No. It's like if you have the privilege of aging, these things change and that comes with it. And we have to be able to accept that and put value in ourselves that doesn't come from our weight.
Yeah.
Because
totally.
I guarantee no one else cares.
Yeah.
I've known Sadie since kindergarten. Could I guess what size you are?
Yeah.
Literally no.
Yeah.
I give you clothes and I'm like, well, no, because I'm thinking about myself.
Yeah, exactly.
Like no idea. I don't even, maybe this is just me being, I think I have like body dysmorphia in a positive way where I can't tell what size anyone else is.
Okay.
But it's also like, you're just never thinking about that.
No.
Until it becomes something about you because we're all selfish, I guess.
Yeah. No, I think you bring up a great point, Tag. And I do the exact same thing looking at myself, pictures of myself from when I was in college because I too, there's always been certain things that I've been insecure about, like with physical insecurities. And I was just talking to my therapist about this last week where I was like, it's funny because as a kid, I was always so insecure about my legs. My oldest sister is the one who tans. She always had super smooth legs. And I remember always saying to her, I just wish I had your legs. Now that I'm older, I feel like I have great legs. I'm like, I can crush my squats. You know, I feel like I'm starting to tan a little bit, not nearly as much as like Tegan tans or something, but I tan for me. Yeah. I think my legs look great. But now all of a sudden, when I look at pictures of myself, I'm like, I hate how my arm looks. All of a sudden, it's something different. And this is the thing. And then it was also, you know, I went on my skin journey and it was like, all I see is my breakout. That's what I'm focusing on. So it's like, as soon as one part of myself heals, I find something else to look at. And that's not a good way to think because there's always going to be something else. And that's not healthy. But where I was going to go with this is I think when you think about body dysmorphia or body image and going back to the media, I feel like people are sometimes thinking that you're only comparing yourself to other people and that's the toxic part. Yeah. But for me, I hardly ever compare my actual body to other people. Like I'm never looking at Instagram being like, oh my God, I wish I was as ripped as this girl. Going back to my deep rooted problem is like I'm feel guilty that they're at the gym and I'm not. Like I haven't worked out this week and they're there 5 days a week. Like that's what bothers me. Yeah. Where I get my like toxic thoughts it's from comparing myself to past versions of myself. Right. And I think that's something that you might not even realize you do. Like and that can also be extremely toxic. And yeah, of course we're going to change. And of course me looking at college Sadie, I also am like, holy crap, I was so skinny. But I remember looking at myself in the mirror being like, girl, like you've always had this little bit of chub on your tummy or like your legs or whatever. So I don't know. It's just like, if only we could go back and tell ourselves like, you know, and to your point, Tag, right now you can. Like, you
Yeah.
know, in the future, you're going to look back on yourself and be like, I wish I could tell her this. So it's like, tell yourself this, you know, tell yourself right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I do think there's a big trend, thinking about weddings again, of justifying like unhealthy ways of losing weight by trying to look good for, say, your wedding. There's the whole like shredding for the wedding phenomenon. Or
oh my God, I've never heard that. I hate that.
Oh, I know. There's whole Instagram pages where you can get inspo for shredding for the wedding. It's a whole thing, which is obviously toxic and stupid because it's like, you know, this person just said they want to marry you and be with you for the rest of your life. So your priority is, well, I better lose weight. Like, but it's a big thing. Even when I was wedding dress shopping, they were like, you can't lose too much weight or your dress won't fit. We have girls come in and they've lost 50 pounds and then their dress doesn't fit anymore. Like, it's so normal. In a lot of the older wedding magazines, it's like there's a section of here's how to, you know, work out such and such. If you're wearing this type of dress, do these types of workouts. Like, it's so normalized. And the same for, you know, getting bikini body ready. Yeah. When it's like, if you're wearing a bikini, you're bikini body ready. Yeah. Doesn't have to get any more detailed than that. But I think something we've talked about when we've had personal trainers on is reframing things. Like, it's okay if you want to exercise because your wedding is coming up. Yeah. But it's like, reframe it in positive ways. Work on your cardio so that you can be dancing all night. Yeah. I worked out my arms because my arms are so weak and I knew I'd have to carry a bouquet, which sounds so lame because they're not that heavy. But I was concerned about this. And, you know, it's like, I'm working out because when I go on my vacation to Mexico, I'm going to hike up this pyramid, not so that when I take an Instagram picture for the people back at home to see, I look like I have abs.
Yeah. Totally. This also came up with my therapist where when we really started talking about this deep was earlier this year when right before I was going to Dominican. And it was the exact same situation you were just describing, Tag, where it was like I had plans through January, February, March to like work out so that I could go in April and I would look my best for my college roommate, like best friend's wedding. Didn't happen. Then I was beating myself up about it. And why I didn't, like, it doesn't even matter. I don't even need to get into the specifics, but the whole reason I was doing this was to look my best. Yeah. Then it didn't happen. I'm talking to my therapist about that, whatever. Then I come back. My sister's getting married the weekends that this episode drops, I think, or she just got married. Either way. Again, I said to my therapist how, like, I want to look my best for my sister's wedding. Right. And she just was like, why does looking your best mean you're 10 pounds lighter than you currently are? Why, like, does looking your best have anything to do with your weight? Like, you're really happy right now. And this is something that I reported back on because after I went to Dominican and I came back, she was like, so how was it? How did you feel being in your bathing suit all day with girls you didn't know? Like, how did you feel? And I was like, it was great. And the funny part is I'm posting on Instagram. This is bad validation, but these are my most liked photos of the year. Yeah. Me in my bathing suit. People aren't commenting like, damn girl, fire emojis. People are commenting, you look so happy. Yeah. And I was like, this is so nice. Like, that is what people see when they're looking at me in a bathing suit in Dominican, where I'm seeing the chub on my belly, my arms, whatever. So anyways, I was loving that. So I'm telling my therapist I want to look my best for my sister's wedding. I got to start, you know, working out more, upping my step count. She's like, remember how, you know, you were in Dominican, people were telling you how happy you are. She's like, that happiness is you being your best. It has nothing to do with how much you weigh. It has nothing to do with, you know, anything about your physical appearance other than literally how happy you are. Like, that's how you're your best. So I think it's, again, just like reframing that because it's always, that's the, like, always a success metric of being our best, feeling our best, living our best. It's how active you are, how healthy you eat, how many times you hit the gym, what your step count is. Like, it's good to have a goal, I guess, but I think it's being your best does not equal being thin.
Exactly.
Like,
and
that is not
being
it.
thin does not equal healthy.
No, that's the other thing. Yeah. And I think that's a great example. Flip side, I follow the Birds Papaya. She's like one of my favorite body positive influencers. And she's a not Toronto, but like GTA based Canadian. But anyways, she posts so many things about how she used to be like having an ED and she was extremely thin, but that was the unhappiest she's ever been in her entire life.
Yeah.
You know, but she was like, but looking at myself, like, I should be happy because I'm thin now. But now, you know, like, she's in the same boat as kind of me, where she's like so happy. People are commenting on how happy she is. She lives this beautiful life. She has like beautiful children. She's married, you know, she's happy, but she has way more weight than she had back then.
Yeah.
But she's like, but this is me being my best, feeling my best, living my best. Like, yeah. So I think that's a very important perspective to have.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's like sometimes even if you're skinnier, you look, at least by our North American beauty standards, worse.
Right.
Like, I see pictures of myself weighing less and I'm like, I look like my hair is flat. She is not good because she's not getting the nutrients she needs. Like, I don't look strong. I look tired. The bags under my eyes. My skin is so bad because, you know, so it's like these are all trade-offs too. If you're eating healthier, it's like my nails grow so freaking fast now because I eat the nutrients I need. My hair grows so long and it's big and it's shiny and you know, all these other things that of course are piled onto women as things that we need to have. You can't have that if you are like starving yourself, if you're eating less calories than you need to, you know, grow your hair, grow your nails, that kind of thing. And so that, I think, is also a part of it that people forget. Like, you get caught up in the number on the scale and not what that actually looks like in your lifestyle.
Yeah. And I think too, if you're chasing it, this is kind of like the toxic side of goal setting is like once you set a goal and you achieve it, then you set the next one. And I think like body dysmorphia can keep you constantly chasing. So if it's a goal weight or a weight goal, if it's a certain look, like I was saying with my insecurities, how I made peace with my legs, but now I'm insecure about my arms. Like there's always something else. So it's like, it's try not to chase that, you know, like find something else that motivates you, chase like to chase that. And hopefully, you know, it's things that make you feel good and, you know, actually are fulfilling rather than being like, okay, great, I hit this number on the scale. Now I'm going to go for this number and keep it going like that.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think, Tag, you were talking about like reframing your thinking. And this is something that I'm also like really working through to help me accept it and accept that my body changes and how, regardless of how much I work out, whatever, like things are going to change. So it's funny because I overlook these things all the time. And I feel like we're all kind of guilty of that, especially if you're someone who's constantly like, I don't know, looking for like things you could do different or better or more of. So I don't know. I was recently thinking about this though, where I go to like my hot yoga class every Tuesday and I'm always so proud of myself that I can complete the class like in a hot room.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is something I should celebrate, you know? But the killer for me is like, then I come home and I walk up my 3-story walk up when my legs are shaking, you know, like I'm tired, but I'm like, I can do this, you know, like I'm celebrating this. Or there's so many freaking planks in this class. My shoulders are always so sore. I feel it there the most, but I have to wash my hair after hot yoga, you know, but I'm like, I'm strong enough to wash my hair, like walk up my 3 stories, like walk up, wash my hair. Like I can do this. Or even just like acknowledging and realizing strength in other ways. So for instance, something else, like these are kind of like positive affirmations I like tell myself, but it's like if a friend were to call me up tomorrow and be like, hey, want to go for a hike? And I could, I would. Like there's nothing stopping me. Like I'm healthy, I'm strong. Why isn't this enough for me? You know, like why am I letting weight around my midsection overshadow the fact that I'm strong and healthy? Like that's not fair. So I think it's also just bringing awareness to those other things. And like you said, using those other things to motivate you. Like,
Yeah.
I want to be able to dance all night. I want to be able to go on a hike when my friend calls. I want to, you know, I think something else is like if you want to have kids and like be active with your kids, maybe grandkids, like whatever it is, you want to live a long, healthy life, like use that as your motivation and like focus on that.
Yeah. I like to think of, you know, exercise classes as just like time for me, and it's more for my mental health than my physical health.
Yeah, definitely.
And I feel like this can be hard because maybe this is just like a city thing, but some classes I go to are very much like weight loss oriented. Like the way the person teaching the class is like, let's work off those weekend drinks, ladies. And like it's a big part of, I think, like, I don't even know, exercise culture, I guess.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's like, you've got to do it, even if it hurts, power through. And that is not the way that I think about exercises. And so one thing that I found has helped me is finding a studio. I take yoga as well, but I found a studio that more closely aligns to what I'm looking to get out of my class. So now the studio I go to, the instructor's like, everyone's poses are going to look different because everyone's bodies are different. Whereas some other studios are like, get off the ground. You need to be high. Look how high she is. Right. And it's just like not healthy to be competitive in any way when it comes to your body, because like
it's
my
so
yoga instructor
personal.
said, and you don't know what, you know, I have a bad shoulder because of a hockey injury. I have a bad knee from a hockey injury. No one knows that. It was, you know, 10 years ago. It just looks like I'm failing at this one pose.
Right.
So I think that that can be really helpful if you're surrounded by people who are constantly bringing up things that are triggering to you or that trigger negative thoughts about your self-appearance. You do not need that type of energy in your life. And this could be even like the Instagram accounts that you follow or the TikTok accounts that you follow. I don't usually fall prey to that. The only thing that I find is sometimes I'll save outfit inspirations, recreate them myself and be like, this looks kind of weird. What's going on? And then I look and then I'm like, oh, they're just really skinny. I thought it was the outfit. And so I think that that can be really common, but sort of recentering your, like the voices you're hearing around yourself also, because it's like, you don't need the toxic energy. You are probably saying negative things to yourself all the time. Do you need to go and hear these negative things in a yoga class or hear them in your like Shredding for the Wedding podcast you're subscribed to? Like, absolutely not.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I've never thought about that before. Yeah. Like in a workout class, especially. Yeah. Like, and everybody's motivated by different things, but that is like unhealthy competition. And I think of my Tuesday night instructor. I really, really like her. And it's funny because I'm always like, I feel if somebody were to come, like a friend were to come to this class with me, they'd be like, of course you love this instructor. Like, she's just like positive affirmations left, right, and center. But something she always has every single class is like, what you're actually building here is mental strength. Like, do not give up, because if you give up in this pose, you know, you're likely to give up anytime you face adversity in any part of your life. Like, that's an exaggeration, but you know, like, and she says it a lot better than I do, but that's it exactly. And it's like, that's the point, you know, she's not being like, I don't know. And even like, she's like talking about like building strength. Like, it's never in a competitive way. It's in a very much like uplifting, healthy way. And I feel like that's why I like her so much, but that's so interesting.
Yeah. I've been to a yoga class where we were doing pigeon pose, which is a pose I enjoy, but with a knee injury can be hard.
Yeah. I do not like pigeon.
Oh, okay. I love it. I do yin yoga a lot. And so you'll hold pigeon for like 5 to 10 minutes. And it makes me cry because your hips are where you hold your stress. It's a whole thing. I'm getting sidetracked. But anyways.
I was like, please don't cry now.
Yeah. Thinking about pigeon pose. No. So I was in the pose, but I could not stay. She was also teaching. This is just me now ragging on this one yoga teacher. But I've been keeping it inside, so I need to get it out.
Yeah. And this is also like, again, I've never thought of this before.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you talking about this, I'm like, damn, I have been in these classes before.
Right.
So I'm
it's
like,
so normal. And
yeah.
I think when it's women-based classes, that's the only time where I've seen it where it's all women.
Right.
Where I don't know.
Yeah.
But so she
Anyway,
was trying to get us to hold the pose in a certain way that was hurting my knee. And I was shifting. And then she was like, don't shift, hold it. And I was like, yeah, okay, girl. And I was moving my leg, and she was like, the pain is good. The pain means it's working. And I was like, are you kidding me? And I'm thinking, if this is someone's first yoga class, and they think that pain is good for your workouts, like, absolutely not. And so the whole class was just very much like, it was also, I was taking this yin class, and it was directly after a Pilates class. So most of the people had been in the Pilates class and had stuck around. And it was like, come on, you've been here working it out. You partied all weekend. It's time to sweat off those pounds, blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, this is not at all why I come to yoga. Whereas, like I was saying, the studio I found now is a lot more body positive, and everyone else looks different than me in this new studio I go to. A lot of the people are much older, and they are in much better shape than me. Even though I think if the two of us were to walk into the old studio, they would roll their eyes at this older person. And be like, okay, come on in, young white woman. Yep, front row of yoga. Where I'm like, that's just not even what it's about. And then there are these older people who look like they would be in worse shape than me, who are going nuts in this class, and me like falling over dying, because all I've been hearing is like how great I am because I'm skinnier. Like, so it's just, I don't know. It's very interesting to me. I guess for some people that would be very motivational. It's just not at all for me, and it actually like pissed me off a lot. So I don't go back there anymore. But
boycott. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, exactly. Their name is, but I mean, it is just the one instructor. It could be totally, different. But I think that you can be fed this information through so many different places, like,
and you're not aware of what it's doing to your unconscious, like, thinking. Like, it's like looking at a magazine of skinny people being told, like
that's normal.
Like, I don't know. You brought up an interesting point though that resonated with me for these older people you were saying, where it's like, maybe I look thinner than them, but they're way stronger and like way more in shape. That's another thing for me, is I find I'm always like, but I can show up and like do this class and crush it, and I feel like I'm very strong, but I feel like I don't look strong. And for some reason, being strong isn't enough. Like, I also need to look, you have to prove it. And it's like, no, what matters is if, somebody comes at me, I can like throw a punch at them. Like, I don't need to be able to like, it has nothing to do with how I look, like, or it shouldn't have to anything to do with that. Yeah.
One last thing I wanted to say that is just an interesting perspective I had is I used to work with a girl, and she would work out every morning. She'd wake up at 5 a.m. and she'd do a full workout, and whether it was like a spin class or a set at the gym, and then she would walk to work. And this would take her like 45 minutes, an hour on top. And I was just like, wow, this girl has her life together.
Right.
And she looked great. And she always had like her hair done, was just like a superstar. And I was like, yeah, it's because she's got her priorities all straight. Her life is great. That's why. And then we were talking like one evening, and she said that when she was in like the 7th grade, a boy said that she had like tree trunk thighs. And she's like, it is stuck with me, and all I see in every picture of myself is thighs, 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 and I think like I look awful. And she's like, and I have to work out every single day, and all I do is work my legs to try to get my thighs to be smaller. And I was like, so in my perspective, she was working out because she had her shit together, and she looked amazing, and she was working out because she's like, this is just what I have to do to look normal because I'm so awful looking.
Yeah.
And it was all based on one comment. And yet no one else in the world was thinking it. Yeah. Because she looked amazing. Yeah. I don't know.
I know. That's why it's like so important to talk about these things, because it's like, that one comment shouldn't hold so much weight, but it does, because that's just what we're conditioned to think. So
exactly.
Yeah. Well, Tag, I know you talked about some things that helped you going to like different yoga instructors, whatever it is. But some of the things that I have been practicing or really helped me, I already talked about like recognizing and appreciating strength and health over like looks and whatnot.
Yeah.
But I also think I'm somebody who is very conscious of my thoughts. So as soon as I look at myself, I point something out to myself to like prove this narrative of I could be doing more, could be doing better, could look better, could, whatever. Yeah. I always interrupt that thought with, don't think that way. Yeah. Oh my God, why are you thinking like that? And then I beat myself up for thinking about it. So I'm in life in general, I'm really trying to give myself more compassion in like every aspect. Yeah. But I think it's just acknowledging the negative thoughts and letting them go. And I know that's really hard, but just having awareness of these thoughts and like the stories you tell yourself has so much power. Yeah. So I think it's just first step, acknowledging them. Second step, interrupting them. Maybe you find something else. So if I'm looking at a photo of myself being like, oh my God, I hate my arms, maybe I go to my legs. I'm like, wait, my legs look right here. Or, oh my gosh, my skin's cleared up, or whatever. Maybe it's, oh my gosh, I love how happy I look. Like literally find something else and focus on that instead and interrupt that thought. Another thing that's really helped me, and this is again through the summer season, where I pulled out my favorite shorts this summer. They didn't fit from the last summer. I was so upset about it. I bought new shorts. Now I put them on and I love them. Yeah. I feel so good in them because they actually fit me. So this is something I'm really taking into fall and like transitioning, is like being very honest with myself, and the clothes that I donate at the end of summer, like these don't fit, get rid of them. Don't hold on to them. I don't hold on to things being like one day they will fit. Like that's never the thought. It's just like, but these are my favorite, like I don't want to get rid of them. They do way more damage just holding on to them and trying them on. Like every time I try them on, I get upset and beat myself up over it. Not worth it. Get rid of them and buy things that actually fit. And who cares what size they are? Like we were saying. Yeah. I have no idea what size Tegan is. She has no idea what size I am. Yeah. And even if we did, we wouldn't care. Yeah. Like it would be,
it would be weird if I cared.
Yeah, exactly. And probably if you buy something, you literally all you have to do is get over yourself to buy it, like a certain size. And then you're probably also going to forget what size they are. Yeah. Like, once they're on, it does not matter. It doesn't matter in the first place. But just buying clothes that actually fit, that's something I want to do for my like fall wardrobe. And this is another thing I had the realization of. I have so many clothes that I've had forever. And when I was in college, up until like I started working post-grad, I worked at Anthro. Yeah. I had a discount. I got all these really nice Anthro clothes, and I still have so many of those clothes. But I worked at Anthro in 2018. Like the last time I worked there was 5 years ago. And I still have clothes, and then I put them on and I get sad that they're too small. Yeah. It's like, what the heck? Yeah. That was 5 years ago. Of course, like I need to give myself compassion, but also just get rid of them, buy things that actually fit. And then this is maybe a weird one. These two are maybe weird. Okay. But I hope I don't lose you. But also just getting comfortable looking at yourself naked, I think has a lot of power. And this is just something, again, where it's like, if you wake up every day, you put on an outfit and all you do is just like hate how you look in certain outfits, or I don't know, a lot of the time it's like right before I'm leaving the house, I'm like obsessing over how I look before I leave. But it's like, just get comfortable with yourself wearing absolutely nothing. And like realize, again, look for other things before you squish into a pair of jeans, before you like have lines from sitting in your shorts, or like lines from your bra, whatever it is. Like just get comfortable with yourself and your body. And I feel like it's awkward and maybe like you really dread doing that at first, but I feel like over time you'll be like, damn girl, like, do it. Like, I don't know, first thing in the morning, start your day with positive affirmations and just like show appreciation for yourself and your body. I think that is good. And like repeating positive mantras to yourself when you're doing that. And another thing, not quite similar, but sort of, is keeping photos of yourself, even if you think you look bad in them, and looking at them a different day with fresh eyes. So this is like, especially like going back to my Dominican trip, I'd be like, oh, can you take a picture of me? They'd snap pictures. I'd look at them in the moment and be like, oh my God, I hate this. I hate how I look sweaty. I look massive, whatever it is. But then I would come home from my trip, say a week later, never posted these photos, look at them again, and I'm like, damn, I look so good. Yeah. Then I would post them. Like, I don't know. I think you can get caught up in the moment kind of thing. You feel bad and ugly, so then you see that when you look at yourself in these photos. But I feel like just hang on to these photos, and it might be 5 years from now, maybe it's next week, you'll probably look back at them one day and be like, actually these aren't as bad as I thought. So yeah, that's another thing I've been practicing to give myself a little bit more compassion.
Love it.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's where we'll leave things for this week. Hopefully you heard something that resonates with you, even if it's just that like we also feel and think this way, especially as people who are very publicly like, love yourself.
Yeah.
You're perfect the way you are.
Totally.
You know, obviously that's lovely to say, but it's not realistic, and it's not realistic 24/7.
Yeah, exactly.
And so hopefully that is comforting to hear. I think that this is a big theme for anyone in their 20s, but realistically, especially women, but all people deal with body insecurities and that kind of thing. So if you like this episode, you can follow and subscribe to us so you see when new episodes drop. They come out every Tuesday morning. In between that, we're on social media. We're at Our Golden 20s on almost all of the platforms. And we have a Patreon page, which is the best way to show your support for the podcast. And we put up the episodes early there if you like to hear things before anyone else. And I think that's everything. So thanks for listening. Bye.